If it's undercovered, underreported, or a waste of time, you can be sure we'll be heard. Nothing is off limits.
Welcome to Broad Street Radio.
Welcome to Broad Street Radio. I'm Michael Morris, back from the dead with my good friend Johnny Cash. Johnny, how are you, buddy?
I am living the dream.
So, now, if you've been on YouTube and Spotify and all that stuff, the shows have still been there. But,
shockingly,
yes, I have not been up and moving. But I'm not going to say I got anything. Let's just call it I got the Disney flu when I came back from Florida. We'll put it that way.
I thought it was the Kung flu.
That's the thing that we couldn't say a year ago, and now apparently we can joke about it.
Really?
Well, because Dr. Fauci, the Fauci Act is being introduced.
Is that the one where they confiscate all the cloth masks because they don't work?
No, apparently we have to wear a mask like we're going to storm Gotham City, and that's the only one that will be acceptable. Even though they keep saying the masks don't work. Well, the masks work, but not this kind. The kind they've been letting us wear for 2 years.
Yeah, right.
So now that everyone is sick, I thought that the interesting part about the Fauci Act, which if people don't know about it, is now Congress will be able to look into the finances of people who are running these special ops to slow down our country. I thought it was funny that you would appreciate this. I'm sure you saw Fauci has over $10 million in investments.
I've heard that, yeah.
In the last 2 years.
Listen, the man makes good decisions. He follows the science, and he figured out that the science was leading one direction, and he skated to where the puck was going to be, I guess.
You know, it's a good way to put it, because I thought, how advantageous that you had $10 million. I mean, that wasn't all of his money. He just invested $10.24 million at the right time.
That's not all of his money?
No, that's just what he moved around recently. So when...
Good Lord.
I can't remember who the senator was that was asking him a question, and the big thing that came out of it is that...
Probably Jordan.
No, it was, because if it was Jordan, they would have brought up. But he was there at Ohio State when they were fumbling all the wrestlers and all that stuff.
Right.
Which is a funny story on its own, because there were a lot of people that knew that was going on that I've run into that played tennis or golf or whatever at Ohio State, and it was like a well-known rumor that this was going on. But apparently only Jim Jordan is the one that knew.
Well, yeah.
Because he was a coach there.
Well, it's because he's a Republican congressman.
Oh, I'm not going to listen to this. Just because the guy's a Republican and they want to take them all down, you're saying that that's why they're going after him?
I mean, look, politics is dirty, man. They're going to do whatever they can to get somebody down.
I'm surprised that they don't have Jim Jordan on Epstein Island, like even one flight.
I don't know how they haven't.
If they would, we can't even talk about that, by the way.
What?
We can't even talk about Epstein's Island. Let's move on. That's old news.
You mean the actual flight logs that have been
nobody wants to talk about it.
Unredacted, open, anybody can search it and
why
find
was
anything
Jay-Z down there? I mean, is there a studio down there that I don't know about?
Maybe it's like that. What's that that studio that everybody always went to, that shitty place in Mississippi that
Oh, you mean where Elvis recorded?
Yeah, like everybody records
right across from the Piggly Wiggly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something like that down there.
It totally could be. But let's talk about political lines here, because the hot topic right now is the Voting Rights Act. And you and I kind of talked about it a little bit before this, but the only reason I'm paying attention to this is that I don't think people, shockingly, in America, are all that educated about what's being presented in front of them.
I would agree with that. And in full disclosure, I don't know all of the details. I haven't read the bills, so I don't know.
Well, that's okay. I'm going to give you the overview because, again, I don't want – this is more just for conversation, but I think that our conversation, if someone's listening and they would listen to this and say, well, those guys have to be wrong about this. Yeah. I want it to spark –
We probably are. But.
Well, aren't we always when we do this?
Yes. That's why we do it.
Yeah, I mean, we literally do this to piss off that one person who just wants to fact check everything we're doing. But
I mean, we got to keep the fact checkers employed, man. I mean, inflation's crazy right now, so – this is our job. This is our mission.
But you get to do this for free. You get to check on what we're saying for free, and it can kill some time because you can't afford cheese now. So you can, at home on your phone, just look up everything that we're saying that's wrong. My problem with it is that we have a culture of the fact checkers who will say, well, this is right or wrong based on this. The Voting Rights Act is being looked at as suppressing minorities from voting. That's the way it's being pushed across. Like on
Right.
Martin Luther King Day, Dr. King's family was beside Biden saying that this is unfair to black
they were
and brown
comparing
people.
this to like Jim Crow
Right.
era stuff. So I mean, and I asked this question before, and hopefully someone out there can answer this for me. Who is not able to vote if they want to?
Right.
I don't understand that question. And again, maybe this is just my white privilege speaking that, I don't understand. I can't comprehend why someone wouldn't be able to vote. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not happening. It doesn't mean that there are areas that they can't improve things. But I just don't understand. Now, again, I live in Ohio. I've never had an opportunity to not vote in an election if I wanted to. Never.
Well, we'll kind of break down what this means. So what they're saying is the suppression is you're not letting people that are poor vote. You're not letting people in certain areas vote. That's what they're saying based on the voter IDs. So in Ohio, we're only going to talk about Ohio at this point.
Right, because
you have to have proof of a residence, like a water bill.
Yeah.
You have to have an ID to say who you are. These are pretty basic things. Let's say you don't even have a water bill that you rent, or I live in your basement, which is what I plan to do later.
Sure.
But I would still have a residence where I get mail.
Right.
Because the whole point is if I went to 7 states in a row and just voted in every single, my vote counts.
Yeah.
Without an ID, without saying I live there. You're trying to figure this out because out of, I think the number is 338 million people that live in the United States, only I think 170 million of those people are actually eligible to even vote.
Right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Because you have kids, then you have, people in Illinois that they're dead, but they still vote, but we count that. But they're trying to avoid these massive overruns of voting because it's an unfair system. If you don't have to prove who you are, you can go and vote 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, that's a disturbing thought that somehow we managed to have, close to 80% voter turnout in the last
It was almost
election?
87%.
Yeah, which is
so you'd have to look at this and say
the statistical probability
right.
is
Well, you have 2 candidates who one was 81 million or just over 80 million and the other one gets 74 million. That is an insane amount. That's almost that every single person voted that was eligible. So we know that that's not right.
right.
I'm not saying who won, who lost. I'm saying those numbers don't add up.
They do not.
Okay? Because you don't even get that many people with their phone texting in votes for American Idol.
Right.
Right?
Which we might as well just go to that system if that's what we're doing.
That is what we're going to do in New York, because in New York, they're going to add 800,000 people to the voter roll without a name, by the way.
Do they even have 800,000 people that still live in New York City?
I think they all live in Manhattan. According to Sex and the City, everything happens within 7 blocks. I'm just kidding. I've never seen that show. I wouldn't watch a show with a bunch of octogenarian women that are kind of like, I thought that was a weird thing they brought that show back. Like, these women are in their 60s. Like, who's trying to get on top of that mountain? Anyway, that's like, sorry.
Somebody apparently.
I had to think about it. When I see Sarah Jessica Parker's face, I think of that. You know those faces when you see in Mexico the Day of the Dead? Like those big, long, protruding bones. Anyway, that has nothing to do with voter suppression. Yes. I bet she's fast. Her husband killed someone with a car. That's true. He did. He killed someone drunk driving. Look that up. Fact checkers. So the point being that in New York, if you add another 800,000 people without a residence, you can basically say that the Democratic Party is going to win New York and win California, right? So you would pretty much say that anyway.
That's fine. They're going to win it anyways. Let them have it.
So when you're looking at electoral votes, that's all we're looking at is if you get those 2 states, I believe that would be roughly 80 electoral votes.
Yeah, something like
You need 270 to win, right?
Right.
What they're trying to do is they say, okay, we already have these 2 pockets sewn up. How do we get Texas? How do we get New Mexico? How do we get Florida? That kind of thing. And if you look at in the last, 1 million people a month were coming across the Texas border.
Right.
And they were just scattered to the 4 winds. I mean, they were bused. This is another thing you can look up. They were bused to different cities.
Yes.
Once they got there speaking no English, they got packets. Here's where you're going, all that. So again, I don't want, if I want to win an election, I need as many bodies as I can to vote for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to know anything that's going on.
They can still be cold.
Correct. But I guarantee you they didn't go to states like California and New York because why? My base is already going to be pretty heavy there. I don't need you there. I need support in the states that I don't have it.
Sure.
The Dakotas, the Carolinas. The
Virginias. I mean, if you want to win, you got to go to Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Well, you got to go to Wisconsin, Indiana,
Pennsylvania,
Ohio.
I think Ohio pretty much shut that down.
Well, they did, but again, when you're saying everything is racist, which we've seen for 5 years, everything is racist, or it's woke or whatever. At the end of the day, all I'm saying is, and you and I both come off of this where we're like in the middle.
Yes.
I am for enough regulation that when the town is on fire, someone's going to put it out. But I am not for totalitarian rules where we're living in now, where our government wants to tell us what we're supposed to do. I find it hard to believe that we live in a time where the government literally wants to tell us everything to do, and people are going, yeah, I'm fine with this.
I don't know, man. People are lazy.
This is the dumbest time in history to be an American citizen.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's astounding. The American dream has literally been devalued, debased, eliminated. Like, it doesn't exist anymore. The American dream is, I'm going to let somebody else handle it.
Right.
I can't understand it. I mean, listen, I'm not judging. I just don't understand. I can't comprehend the idea behind that.
Do you think that, so are you aware of the Davos, not Betsy DeVos,
right?
Davos summit?
Yes.
I always forget his name, but it's a very German name, so you know it's very well thought out. In a certain way, 1940s, look that up. Is it Schmidt, whatever his name is, where the theory is that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it. Have you heard? So
yes.
Now this is a summit.
What you're bringing up is what some folks like to call the Great Reset.
Right.
Yes.
But do you remember when it was a conspiracy theory and now it's like,
yes.
Well, no. This is what, like, I heard it on the mainstream news.
Yeah.
That
now they're openly talking about, hey, they want to acknowledge and for better or worse, we are a global economy, right? I mean, you can't do anything in the United States without affecting something somewhere else and vice versa, right? I mean, that's just is what it is. But the idea is they want to create a world of equity, not equality, but equity, where everybody has the same. Which sounds an awful lot like communism, isn't it?
How are you speaking poorly about on this show? You won't speak poorly about communism. So, listen, I always say when Tulsi Gabbard, I miss you, Tulsi. When she was called a Russian asset, I thought I would like to be a Russian asset. That girl's hot. Like, I would have voted if Tulsi Gabbard would have made it to the very end, and it was her versus Trump. I would have had a problem of not. She wanted to end wars. She wanted to end foreign spending.
That would have been an easy choice. I would have voted for Gabbard.
Oh my God! I mean,
I think she's one of the very few Democrats who seems reasonable about everything.
Right.
Like it's not that I have an issue with left thinking or right thinking. It's just she's very common sense about stuff. Right. Which we haven't had for.
Well, let me ask you this.
I can't remember. I mean, since I was a kid.
Oh, I can't remember since. I mean, it was very left or right, but it was never. I don't think the divide was as big as what it is right now. Where
W. Bush. I mean, last I remember, he seemed fairly
aloof.
Well, maybe aloof, but I don't remember.
I think he was more of a Democratic. Same with Obama. I think Obama is more of a Republican. He didn't even tell you he was more of a Republican than he was a Democrat, like his policies and all that. I think we got to
especially with the whole bombing situation.
Listen, as I say, I was rooting for the virus to take people out. I'm rooting for bomb. When I saw that thing that happened in the Congo or whatever, that there was like things are falling apart, the structures are falling apart, the mountains and all that. I'm all for that. But when Bill Gates says that we need to depopulate, I don't think he means it in the same way that I mean it.
I don't know, man.
But
how do we really know that?
I'd love to get him on the show.
Right.
He's got
Hey,
nothing
Bill,
else to do.
why don't you come on our show? We'll feed you in, do a Zoom.
Wouldn't it be great to have that guy? Have you seen the pictures of him? That guy's talking about our health, and he's got bigger breasts than Dolly Parton. I mean, what's going on with that dude? And then I saw, he was getting a divorce from his wife.
Yeah, she left him because
She left him because she's got a big ass jawbone. Have you seen that woman?
well,
they're taking
I thought
hormones.
it had to do with his trips on a plane that went to
Oh, she was very upset about that.
an island somewhere in the Caribbean.
Do you know why he was there? He was trying to win a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, sure.
But that was his excuse of what. And so they said that on television, and they said, "Well, why would Epstein have ties to the Nobel Peace Prize?" And he was like, "Huh? Well, are you still talking to me, Bill? It's just the two of us, and we're just talking." And he was like, you know what? I just had dinner with him that one time. It's not like they went to Roosters and had wings, man. If you went to dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, you went to a big swanky place,
Right.
But again, I
Either
think
that or you got on a plane and flew down to the Caribbean. And
can you imagine that? You have all the money in the world and you want to go hang out with a bunch of teenage kids, girls,
I don't know, man.
and Jay-Z.
That's what it was. That's why Jay-Z was down there. It was a way for Bill Gates to meet Jay-Z. That's what it was.
But do you believe in the new world? Wouldn't that be the best thing ever? How do I meet Jay-Z? I love that Rockefeller and all that other shit. I heard that Jay-Z doesn't write down any of his raps. He just freestyles. You might want to write some shit down because that stuff is garbage. People are like, oh, Jay-Z's the best. At what? At what? Tricking Beyonce? I mean,
yeah.
I think he's a talentless piece of shit. Though I do, as a businessman, I understand it. But that dude literally puts people on his record like you have talent.
Yeah.
The only way they're going to hear it is through me. I kind of think that's like indentured servant. Like you're going to produce stuff that I'm going to make money off of.
It's called pimping.
Yeah. Well, pimping ain't easy.
No, it didn't.
And I think he did a song.
And he's got 99 problems.
He's got a lot more than that right
No
now.
shit.
But when you hear people talk about the Great Reset or the New World Order,
I just think of Hulk Hogan.
I know. I was
with the
thinking about
black
that
beard.
too.
You remember the black
sweet.
beard?
It wasn't even that he did the whole beard in black, just the side.
Yeah.
You know what bothered me about it is I was thinking, what if he had to go 25 minutes and he's really sweating? Would that ink run off on him? Like it bothered me because imagine that you get ink on somebody else and it's like when
smears all over their face.
Well, remember when Giuliani was reading the stuff after the election and his hair was melting?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking is Hulk Hogan would look like such a tool. He's never done anything that's upset anybody since then.
No.
I mean, he did drop them. He was having sex with somebody else's wife and used the N-word a few times liberally. But he's a Florida resident, so
Right,
it's all right.
so it's okay. He's one of them.
But when you think about the NWO and all these other like,
You even called it the NWO.
well, I'm sorry, but there's no other way to say it. When you think about
Sting's
it,
coming out through this door here in a second.
it would
with a
be
baseball
amazing,
bat.
dressed like the Crow.
Oh my gosh!
But I think that these people who they're always like, oh, they're in this cabal and all this other stuff, and then you start to find out, and people are like, yeah, but it's okay because they voted for Biden, so we're not upset. Like,
Right. Well, I mean that's the standard, right? If you support my guy or gal or my position, we'll overlook, many indiscretions with young underage girls. It's cool.
but don't you think it's the weirdest thing? Like, you have children, I assume. I mean, I've met
do.
them before,
Yes.
but I assume they're yours. When I see somebody that has kids,
So do I.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be great? Your wife's leaving you right now as we're doing the show.
Right? Yeah.
The guy who did the
I look at my Ring camera. I see,
Yeah.
I see my.
Why is the guy who worked on my garage backing my family shit up? So, but when you have kids, I would think that would stop you in your tracks. Like, oh my God, the guy that owns Microsoft is out there on Kitty Island with all these with Will Smith and all this. Like, but what are you gonna do? Not buy a Microsoft product? You don't have a choice. He's bought
Right.
everybody.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a sad state of affairs. We'll put it that way.
I just feel like we're heading towards this. As Rome is burning. I feel like we're walking with, gasoline pants on, and we're like, but it'll be fine. Just wait till the next election. I don't know how you undo.
See,
any of
I
this.
feel like we're Thelma and Louise sitting in the front seat. just getting ready to hammer down on that gas pedal, man.
They had great hair.
Yeah.
It's upsetting to me from the standpoint of when my daughter asks me questions, and I'm trying to answer her as directly as possible, and then she goes, "But why?" And I'm like, "Okay, that's the part I don't want you to. I'm just going to tell you what's going on. I don't know why. Like I'm not part of the meetings. I don't know why we're accepting this.
Yeah,
but it all boils down to a couple things. It's either woke, it's racist, or white people are the problem, which." To some extent, I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that from 19.
Listen, exactly, we were the problem.
I'll give you that from 1927 until let's say 1975.
Okay.
But Whoopi Goldberg was on television saying that nothing has changed.
Yeah, Whoopi, nothing.
$30 million Whoopi Goldberg on television is saying that nothing has changed.
The richest woman on the planet is
Oprah.
Exactly.
But nothing's changed for her either.
But because she made something of herself.
I agree. I mean, I think there's only two people that got what is called an EGOT, an Emmy, an Oscar, a Tony, and a Grammy. And Whoopi Goldberg is one of those. Like, she was the first, I think.
Probably.
So if that's the case, you got no opportunities in your life.
Right.
It sounds really weird that we're saying this because you're a cracker and I'm supporting your crackerism. But again, I think we forgot what it was like that we made progress, and to the point where we can literally have people on television that drove there in a Tesla that they paid cash for, saying how bad it is for one certain group of people.
Listen, I said this a long time ago when I had a cousin who was bitching about big oil, and he was literally texting me these things about how evil Chevron and ExxonMobil and BP are.
He's not wrong.
Well, fair enough. I said, but here's the thing. If you're going to boycott it, you need to give up your phone.
Right.
Because how the hell do you think plastic's made, dipshit?
Right. Dinosaur bones.
Yeah, right. It's dead horses. They use the bones and crush them up to make glue to form the plastic. Give me a freaking break,
I don't know
man.
that you have to put that out. Kids could be watching this.
Well, yeah.
Could you imagine if a kid watched the first 20 minutes just to get to that? And that's the problem they had?
He's like, holy shit. That's how glue's made? Yeah. It's insane. Like the positions that we take are no one has any true intention of making change. It's all half-assed, and it's self-serving.
Like DiCaprio with the yacht?
Yes.
Have you seen that yacht? He has a $300 million yacht. This thing, I'm sorry, I think it's a $30 million yacht, but it burns 300,000 barrels of oil a year or something.
Exactly, because of the amount of fuel.
But you know how he got caught with it? A guy was drowning, fell off a boat, and he found out and went to rescue the guy. So they got a picture of the boat, and they're like, wait a minute, does that run on Duracell? Like, what is that running on? How did you get there that quickly? And yet he's saying, yeah, but I'm all about the climate. Not my boat or my car, but like, I need you to do something different.
Yes. Listen, California, you need to ban straws so I can keep burning this freaking fuel.
Right.
That's the point. It's like everyone is just... It's this self-righteous, I feel good about being on the right side of history mentality, and it's utter bullshit. All of it.
Right. Well, I think that when I see these people come out, it's the Kamala Harris, and I'm just coming up with the people that are on TV, because if you're on the other side, they don't put you on TV at all.
No, they don't.
They just talk about you.
They censor you, and they want to make sure that,
Well, it's like Rogan's not on television, and yet he's talked about on television every day.
Shit.
They bury that dude. And then when you listen to his show, he's like, I think I could wrestle a crocodile. And you're like, this is what I want to hear. Because the guy doesn't even care what they're saying about him.
And that's why the frogs are gay.
Right. Hey, did you know that was true? I was telling my parents that at lunch the other day. Alex Jones, what was it, 2014, 2015, said they were putting chemicals in the water that turned the frogs gay. Do you know he's right about that? That they put chemicals in the water to make so that the frogs wouldn't need a mate, that they could change their gender and reproduce on their own. That's what he was saying. It's just the way that he said it came off as crazy. I'm not sorry.
Well, he is crazy. I mean,
I'm not defending Alex Jones. I'm just saying
it sounds like it.
That I was on my way here and a frog hit on me, and I'm pretty sure it was a man.
I'm a little bit retarded.
Yeah, dude, that was the best comment ever. What did he say? Yeah, I'm like a bear in a garage. Like just the way he says stuff, and it's like I didn't even know that was a real person. Like I didn't know InfoWars was a real person until John Oliver was talking about it one day, and I was just like, I thought it was a show.
Right. Like, now I got to find out who this guy is.
I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but I'm like, I would watch this, but is it just one guy screaming all the time? Like I didn't understand it. I didn't realize it was a real show.
Yeah.
So the frogs are gay, but they can vote in New York City, and I think that's a good place.
Great way to end.
That's a great way to end, Johnny. We're gonna run this back, but thank you for being here today.
Hey, my pleasure.